Look where I am. Got all the ducks hanging out here. Let's see who's joined me this morning. Good morning, MD, Melanie, Anne, Viola. Hi, Adrian. Hi, Anne, Carol, Hans, and Elaine. And welcome, good morning to Wentworth Falls Lake in the Blue Mountains. It is just after 6 a.m. here in Wentworth Falls. And we've got a beautiful morning. Look at it. It's just gorgeous. And the sun's going to come up from that direction over there. So we're just going to have a little gentle, quiet stroll. Look, we've got this little magpie lark just popped in on top of the pier here. How close will he let me get to him? Oh, there he goes. Bit of a layer of mist sitting on top of the water. Hi, David. Oh, what's making that noise? Those are coots, those guys over there. A couple of mozzies about. I don't like the idea of there being mozzies about. So we're just standing on the end of this little pier. This is where I'll start from. Feel free to take postcards as you spot them. I'll pan slowly. So we're just going to take a little walk around this lake here. I don't know if you can see the little playground, little pirate ship playground just over there. That was a squawky one. I think that was the magpie lark that made that squawky noise. I spotted these two canoes here yesterday. I think they're for sale. They're very trusting, the people that have left them there by the side of the lake. Just put a little notice on, said $50 and a mobile phone number. Morning, Hanel. Is it Hanel or Hanali? Hanali, maybe. So 3 minutes away from starting, so I'll just let you have a look around where we are. This is really just going to be a tranquil, serene stroll around the lake. And I'll tell you a little bit about the local area while we're at it. Lots of bird noise. I can hear magpies. Where are you, Hanali? It looks like, is it a Finnish flag? Finland? Hi, Helen. Morning, Vera. Morning, Bev. Those are magpies that you can hear. So 2 minutes from starting. It's just coming up to 6:15 in the morning. And we're going to have an absolute cracker of a day here today. It's... What was that? That was a That was one of these coots. Let me see. He's just behind me. There we go. That's the noisy one. 9 degrees here at the moment, and we're heading for 20. It's autumn here right now, and it's my favourite season, I have to say. I love the autumn. The ducks are getting rowdy. All right, I'm going to turn the camera around and introduce myself to you, especially to anyone who I haven't met before. Good morning, my name's Lynn, and we're standing here right at the edge of Wentworth Falls Lake. Just about 30 seconds from kickoff. I think we can safely do this. Spring in the United States, wonderful carol. Spring here tends to be a bit rainy and windy and unpredictable, so that's why autumn's my favourite. Alrighty, so as I said, we're standing on the shores of Wentworth Falls Lake. It's just coming up to 6:15 in the morning, and we're going to do a little stroll around the lake. Just a peaceful, tranquil stroll, and I'll tell you a little bit about this area while we're at it. Before we begin, I'd just like to acknowledge that we are meeting today on the traditional lands of the Darug and Gundungurra people, and pay respects to their elders past, present and emerging. The ridgeline that the Blue Mountains as a city sits along is the meeting point of the two Darug and Gundungurra nations. And let me just turn this around again. Good morning, Richard. So the Blue Mountains was typically an area that the people of the two nations would escape the heat to. They would come up to the Blue Mountains from the coastal plains. That's a willy wagtail making all that noise on top of that sculpture. Hi Yana, hi Lucas. He's gone. So the Blue Mountains is an area that the Darug and Gundungurra people would pass through and escape the heat from the coastal plains and from the western plains. In times before colonisation, this wasn't a lake, it was a watercourse, and important to the Indigenous peoples as a meeting place, food supply, lots of yabbies in the area. It was dammed when the steam trains went through as a water source for the steam trains. There's another sculpture just over there. Thank you, Anne. And morning, Michael. Across the road from this park is the train line. You can see one of the struts for the wires, electric wires, just over there. So that's where the train line goes through. And this lake was created by damming the watercourse for water for the steam trains. Carol, we're in Australia. The lake is in Wentworth Falls. It's called Wentworth Falls Lake. And we're approximately just over 100 kilometres from the city of Sydney. Hi Jess, hi Diane. And I'm just going to very slowly walk along here down to the water's edge, and we're going to keep an eye on the sunrise. which is scheduled any minute now, but we won't actually see it crest the horizon because there's a line of trees just behind me. Good morning, Hitoshi. There's quite a pretty little view with the ducks and the mist, morning mist. So as I said, the lake was created for the steam trains that came through the area, which caused quite a bit of problems with the local Indigenous people at the time, and was quite devastating to the landscape as well at that time. Now, of course, it's recovered. And across on the other bank, the opposite bank from here, what we actually have is what's called a hanging swamp, which is critical to the environment. I don't know if they're protesting at me. So across the water there is the hanging swamp. We'll see more of that. Basically, it's on a hillside. It's a swamp. It holds more water than the lake itself. It's critical to the environment and to the health of the waterways. Just going to slowly turn around. This little duck just waddling down beside me here on the rock. Oh, there he goes. The water here was quite dirty about 20 years ago. There were a lot of geese, but they've been moved on. And I believe the water's been stocked with fish as well. So you can come down here and go fishing. Let's just move along the water's edge here, past the playground. Here's another one of these sculptures. They represent the seeds of native plants, native trees. It's another magpie I can hear. These are all Australian native trees. This is a bottle brush. It's not in flower at the moment, but you can actually see the seed pods on the end of the branches there. Good morning, Anne. It's a lovely morning to be out on the canoe. Here's some autumn trees. See if I can get a shot with the autumn tree and the lake. It's quite pretty. Might not expose for it. So there's the hanging swamp again over the other side on the opposite bank. And here we have another one of those sculptures. It's carved out of sandstone. It's quite brisk here this morning. As I said, 9 degrees. We're at an elevation of around about, I think we're about 900 metres here. This is a fairly new playground. It's quite interesting for the kids. It's got some interesting sculptural pieces in timber and what have you. That's it's a goanna, I think, by the looks of it, on that pole there. Just a little glimpse of the playground. And the shade sail has like gum leaves printed onto it, which is kind of interesting. We're going to walk around to a little lookout, a little spot where we can stand over the water and look towards the east. Here's someone feeding the ducks. Which is actually discouraged. Let's just have a look at this other sculpture over here. You can start to see the sun glowing on top of that hillside. So as I said, they all represent seed pods of our native plants and trees. Unfortunately, the plaques themselves have weathered, so the information about the sculpture has disappeared. It's going to be a beautiful day here, Jess. Look at that. Okay, let's get around to this point, and I'm hoping we're going to see a really lovely sunrise, or just after sunrise actually. So just within the last few years, here's a lovely autumn tree. Just in the last few years, they've extended the path. A friend and I used to do walks around this lake, and you'd be bush bashing at this point, fighting your way between the shrubbery. Now the council have come along and paved it, making it a lot easier to walk through here. Of course, there was one time where we bumped into a brown snake walking along this trail. I'm not sure what that bird is. So we're walking in amongst a little grove of eucalyptus trees. The brown snakes are really poisonous, yes. But in 20 years living in the Blue Mountains, I think that's the only snake I've seen. We just stopped, let it pass, and then we kept walking. Of course, you don't have any snakes at all in New Zealand, do you, Jess? You do have our possums, though, I know that. Alrighty. We're sharing this spot with one other person. Good morning, Darlene. So this fellow's fishing. He might not appreciate me talking, so I might not go all the way to the end. I can hear magpies. Looks like the sun's coming up just over here to the right. Good morning. I hope he was packing up and leaving anyway. I feel terrible if I was the reason for him leaving. So here we can see really well the hanging swamp that I was talking about. So everything below the tree line is swamp. It's full of water and apparently holds more water than the lake itself. So what we're going to do is spend a few moments here. The sun's just off to the right, so we're not actually going to see it. Oh, Adrian, thank you. I thought you'd want me to be really quiet. So we'll spend a few moments here just enjoying the lightening of the sky, the lifting of the mist, and then I'll walk around the other side to the dam wall. Good morning, Eli. Really just hoping to give you a calm, serene, tranquil start or end to your day. Oh, thank you so much, Hanley. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I hope to do a few more sunrises. I've only just recently moved back to the Blue Mountains, just in the last almost 2 weeks. I was living down in Sydney, and we've moved back to our family home. That's a train I can hear. Various bird noises that I can't identify. Let's have a look around to the left here. I'm really happy to be able to bring experiences like this to people like yourselves who don't have that opportunity. So I'm really glad that you're enjoying it, and thank you for letting me know. So the sun's just shining on the top of the trees here over to my left. The morning glow on the trunks. There's tree ferns over there in the middle. Good morning, Lindy. Good morning, Rita. Okay, let's have one last look over to my right before we head back in the direction of the dam wall. I don't know what that bird is. Maybe it's a young one. Here we go. Grab your postcards. I actually might wait a minute or two longer. It looks like the sun might be just starting to crest those trees. We'll listen to the sounds of the birds, the magpies, and that squawky thing, whatever it is on my left. I don't know about you, but I love shots with reflections. And it's very calm here at the moment. Good morning, Noreen. Yeah, I don't think it's a parrot. I think it might actually be, Jess might know. I think it might be what they call a pukeko in New Zealand, but we call it a moorhen, a purple moorhen. I can see some movement in amongst the reeds. You probably won't be able to see it, but there's like a platform of reeds just there, and there appears to be some movement, and I think it might be a swamp hen. Alrighty, grab your postcards, grab your last shots. I'm just going to move back around to that little pontoon where I started from, and then we'll go on to the dam wall. We will have more chances to see the beautiful sky as we move in that easterly direction as well. Okay, let's move on. Did I say good morning, Noreen and Dee Lynn and Arun? I think Arun, I've met you on tours before. Thanks, Hanali. What I'm actually hoping to do is to find a great spot to do what they call forest bathing, which I think is a concept that started in your part of the world. So look at this weird tree. It's very spiky. Look at that. That's a weird tree. Sound bath. So I'm thinking about places where I can just walk and maybe even do a silent tour. I'm not sure how voyagers feel about silent tours. And I don't know if I can shut up long enough too. I might be tempted to speak occasionally, but I think there might be some potential to do a forest bathing tour, something similar to this, but less paved. What is it? Shinrin-yoku. It's not really a silent tour then, is it, Aaron? It's very swampy in here at the moment. You can see there's a little pocket of ferns in amongst that swampy ground. This is some sort of native grass. It gets quite big. The seed heads on it. For anyone who doesn't know or isn't familiar with Australian plants and trees, if I can identify it, I'll point them out to you. Oh, look at the sun shining through here now. This is quite lovely. Get a little bit closer to this. I think it might be a maple. I've been on a tour with Elizabeth when she was in Sydney. Here we go. A birdsong tour where she talked very little. That was quite good. Look at the shadows there. Long morning shadows. I'm trying to find a good angle for this. So we're not actually going to see the sun over the lake by the looks of it. It's in the wrong direction. But it still is a lovely morning. Did I say morning, Cheryl? Morning, Cheryl. I can be forgetful sometimes. Here's another one of these carved poles in the children's playground. This one's got turtles on it. I don't know if you can make that out. It's a bit dark against the light sky, so you can't really see it. All right. The mist is still there. And that fellow's still out on his canoe. The birds are just picking up the remnants of the whatever that lady was feeding them. Okay, let's get back over to the little pontoon. trying really hard not to sniffle. I've got a cold morning nose happening at the moment. I've been meaning to do one of Alex's kangaroo tours. I might even attempt one myself, but I need to get down to a particular park that I know of. And the problem is that they're not always there. But there's an opportunity to possibly see goannas at that park too. So it's on my list. It's on my list of must check out and see if it's a tour worthy. Good morning, whoever that is that just joined. I'm sorry I can't read your name. Is that Korean? Okay, so yes, that's true, Adrian. No guarantee at all. Sometimes you get lucky, and sometimes they just don't want to be around. So a little bit of background on colonial history of the Blue Mountains. As most of you are probably aware, Sydney was the landing point for the English when they first arrived to colonise Australia. They arrived in 1788, and within around 20 years, they were actually struggling to feed the colony. The coastal land wasn't very fertile. They weren't succeeding in producing much in the way of food for the colony, and they were sending out parties on a constant basis to find a way across the Blue Mountains. Without much success, the mistake that they were making is that they were perpetually attempting to find a way up the valleys and the gorges. Good morning, Laura. And constantly hitting dead ends. And it wasn't until 1813 when a party consisting of William Wentworth, Charles Lawson and William Blaxland, they decided to head up over the ridge instead. And they succeeded in finding a way across the Blue Mountains to the Western Plains, which opened up the whole country. It's very fertile country over there. So Wentworth Falls is named after William Wentworth. Anyone who's been on my Homebush Bay tour, the shipwrecks, might remember me talking about Darcy Wentworth. William Wentworth was his son. I live in a town called Lawson, which is named after William Lawson. And there's a third town lower down the mountains called Blaxland. So we're getting some nice light across the water now. Good morning, Isabella. So we're going to walk across the dam wall, which is just over here in front of us. There we go. I thought we weren't going to get to see the sun over water, but I was wrong. I'll just walk slowly and give you an opportunity to get the most of this sun just poking through the trees now. Good morning, Deborah. Just wait a moment here and see what the light on the water looks like once the sun gets just a little bit higher. Okay. There's a few steps up ahead. I should have taken the other path. My knees aren't a fan of steps, but we're going to do it because we're troopers. Feel free to ask me questions about the area. If I can answer them, I certainly will. Doing a little bit of construction here on the roadside, so unfortunately we've got this ugly strip of whatever they call this stuff. Oh, there's the sun. Blinding. That's all we had to do. All we had to do was go up a little bit higher. Yes. Yes, it happens to all of us, doesn't it, Jess? I'll keep moving for as long as I'm able. All right, so this is the path across the dam wall. So we're at the eastern end of the lake now. Just looking back across, there's a lovely reflection of this autumn tree in the water, next to a big old gum tree. Oh, don't tell me that. I don't want to think about injuring myself while I'm walking, when the purpose of my walking is to keep myself mobile. The ultimate irony, isn't it? So we're headed for this little bridge and boardwalk, which is a bit tricky to see because it's sort of dark over there. Oh, that's okay. I've got a stupid injury story too. I fell off my platform shoes when I was 17, broke my ankle. First week into a trip with my parents to the United States. I saw Hawaii without a broken ankle, and the rest of the trip, including Disneyland and Grand Canyon, was all on crutches. There's another opportunity for a reflection postcard for those of you who like reflections, just with the ferns, the little wooden bridge, and the boardwalk. And there's still a little bit of mist over there. Just up ahead, there's a very sad memorial to a young teenager who my children actually know or knew He loved to fish here, and on one occasion he dropped his rig in the water and went in after it, fully clothed, and sadly lost his life. Very sad story. German ex-military boots for walking in. I'm in. What am I in at the moment? I'm in sort of like Nike knockoffs. The little logo almost looks like a Nike tick, but it's not quite. Okay, that was steps. So here's the spillway for the dam. And you can see the sun really shining on the park over there now. And the mist is really at the last stages. It's really just lifting now. Cross over this bridge. It's a bit slippery, quite wet. So the council have placed lifesaver rings at various points around the lake as well. Alrighty. Just want to show you this little interesting plant. It's called a mountain devil. And I'll try and find the reason why it's called a mountain devil if I can. I spotted one yesterday, but yes, there's one there. So, where is it? Can you see that little seed pod? Okay, just there where my thumbnail is a seed pod, and you can kind of see two pointy ears and a pointy nose. And when they dry out, they go quite dark. There's another one just there. And they used to sell them as souvenirs. They'd sort of put cloth around them and sell them in the souvenir shops decades ago. And this is the flower. It's quite pretty. I'm not sure what its botanical name is. I'm not really very good at that. But that's a mountain devil. Someone's rigged up a rope from a tree over here. I'm not sure that I'd want to do that. You just never know what's lurking at the bottom of the water in terms of old branches and what have you. But there we go. If you're feeling like a daredevil, you can use the rope swing. And over on the side here, I'll show you two varieties of the same plant, basically. Two Banksias. So that one there has the really big cones and really big sawtooth leaves. And almost right next to it is another one, but quite different. Smaller flower cones and tiny little leaves. So they're Banksias, named after Joseph Banks, so that he was the botanist that accompanied. Whoops, there's a lady going for a run. Morning. Joseph Banks was the botanist that accompanied Captain Cook on his voyage when they charted Australia and claimed it for England. So this area is has quite a lot of these Banksias. There, you can get close up with the flower just there. Now I'm hearing lorikeets, that squawky noise. Alrighty, well, we're just about at our 40 minutes. I'll go for a few minutes further along this path. So there's some more lovely reflections coming up. This is what I'm talking about, the reason why I wouldn't use the rope swing. Something like that you could easily become entangled in. It's quite a nice reflection shot here. Good morning, Mike. You've joined right at the end, but I am continuing for just a few minutes longer. So at this point of the lake, there's a few houses, and they tend to be used as guest houses. It's not huge, Carol. We've kind of walked the entire length of it. So that point where I stood near where the fisherman was is just around that bend over there. And there's sort of two little finger inlets, one just beyond that point, and this is the other one. I can hear magpies. And there's still some lingering lists just up this little inlet. There we go, that's a nice reflection shot. Alrighty, well, that's about it. I might go just a few meters further and find a spot where I can turn the camera around and say goodbye. Thank you for joining me this morning. Just pull up over here, I think. There's lots of ferns and reeds in this area here. Very pretty. Alrighty, well, I hope you enjoyed the early morning lakeside in the Wentworth Falls. Thanks for joining me, everybody. I've really enjoyed having you along for my little walk. If you've enjoyed my tour, please follow my channel, and love to see your postcards. It was a lovely morning, and I'd really love to see some of those shots if you're in the Facebook group. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you. Bye.